Hello, everybody. I'm here again for another episode of Mo Stories. Today, I get the luxury of sitting down with Dr. Davis. He's a dean. He was a former dean at my school, Shenandoah University. He's taken on a new journey of fitness, and he was also a role model for me and a couple of my friends when we were at Shenandoah University. So, to get to sit down today to have a decent conversation with him means a lot to me. So here he is, Dr. Davis he was a former Dean of Business at Shenandoah University.
Well, thank you, Mo, for having me on there, having this conversation. Let's talk about whatever we need to talk about.
Yeah. You spent a significant amount of time of your career at Shenandoah University.
Yes.
What's a lesson you gained from there, from when you started to when you leave, that you still carry with you to this day?
So that's a good question. What's the lesson that I learned that I carry with me? One of the things that I think about often is the incredible resilience as well as diversity of young people. Is that people show up with a wide degree of lived experiences. So I had one student who came from a family whose father literally ran a country. I won't mention his name, but those who were there will know who this student is. And his father was president of a country. And at the same time, I remember having a student who was struggling because both his parents had died from a drug overdose. And so he had siblings that he was overseeing. And so when I think about the differences, each of those particular things presents a unique set of challenges.
Yes.
The person who came from that family who ruled the country, they had to deal with their own set of issues around what that meant, because everybody wasn't happy with them being the ruler.
Yeah.
or the family the young man who was trying to pursue his education while taking care of his family. He had a unique set of challenges, but he was also trying to move forward to help represent his family. So those are the types of things that stick in my mind about the wide spectrum that shows up, and you don't want to paint any generation or any people or anything with a broad stroke, that there are individual stories that reside inside there.
So is there a situation like that was too much for you to handle?
Well, let me be clear that as a person that is part of an institution, there are institutional processes and procedures I have to handle.
Okay.
So if somebody comes to me, and I'm thinking about different situations I've dealt with at the university, with issues that it's my job to refer them to the proper channels.
Okay.
The reality is I can't solve every individual's personal issues. What I can do as a human being is listen to what's going on and then try to point them in the right direction. You walk onto thin ice when you are part of an organization and you try to take on solving personal issues as an individual, when you should be referring them to resources that can help them, as opposed to you just trying to solve them. Because one, let's say that on one side you try to do it and you're successful, but that creates, in some instances, depending upon the nature of the situation, that can create an inappropriate bond or inappropriate connection that's there. On the worst aspects of that is that if you do it and it turns out badly, and then that creates a problem for you and for them too. So it's best to use resources that are available, particularly within the institutional context. It's a little different if I see you, if I know you, if you're a personal friend of mine, we're having a conversation. But even then, because of what I've learned in working in university settings, I'm going to try to point you to the right direction, because ultimately you are responsible for you. I can provide perspective, I can care as a human being, but ultimately you have to take the steps to address your issues in life. All I can do is be supportive of that.
Man, I love that. I appreciate you a lot.
No worries.
You increased Shenandoah's School of Business registration by 77%.
Yes.
That's big. What were some of your tactics that you used to draw students of different cultures, and how did you get them to buy into coming into Shenandoah?
Well, first of all, I want to be clear. that I feel, as a matter of personal philosophy, and you heard it in my previous answer, I don't make anybody do anything.
Yes.
All I can do is provide information. But what you can do is make yourself accessible. So just like you and I talking, if somebody wants to talk, I talk to everybody.
Yeah.
A lot of students who came into the business school were student athletes. And I sat down there and had conversations with them and their parents. And quite frankly, I did not try to sell them on the university, because I think that when you try to sell people on things, they can become disillusioned. But I do want to give you the tools to make the proper decision. And so I will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Because basically, Mo, my philosophy is that if you're open and honest and transparent at the beginning of any relationship, the more money you save on divorce later on.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
whether it's
that's
figurative
true.
or literal divorce, it's better.
True.
So if you coming in and you're wearing a Shenandoah basketball shirt on, if I say, hey, look, the basketball team's a good team, it has a good coach, and that's not going to win every game, but you're going to get a good education as a positive experience, I'm being real with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you, which is what some people do, is overpromise.
Yeah.
Hey, Mo, you come to me, you're going to start every game. I'm going to put you out there. I'm going to,
Yeah.
When I sell you on that, and then you're on the team, and you're like, Coach, I haven't played.
Yeah, that's what you sold me on.
That's what you sold me on.
Uh-huh.
Then you're looking at him cross-eyed, then you're disappointed. Then ultimately, if that was what you were counting on, then the divorce, as it were, a year later, you done spent this money at this institution. Now you got to transfer to another institution, and there's more money. And so I prefer to be open and honest. So hopefully what people saw was somebody who cared about them the same way I care about my own children.
Yeah.
I have children who went through university. And the questions that I would want answered for them is how I treated individuals.
Yeah.
It also was very respectful of the parents who were coming in, because Shenandoah University, in a lot of ways, is an institution of opportunity. And so I try to explain to the parent what the opportunity is that they would have there, and say, you can make other decisions, but let me tell you why I think this may be right for your child. But ultimately, you have to make the decision. So it goes back to what I was saying. I'm treating you like an adult, which is to say, let me give you the information that you need to make a decision. That's being respectful of a person. And obviously, it turned out in good numbers. But also, there's one other thing that I want to say to you, because it wasn't just a passive process. In your case, you reached out to me, but you also have to be where people are. So you have to be willing to go into the communities and talk to people. So that means you go to the churches. You go into, afortunadamente hablo en español, so I go into the Hispanic community and have a conversation with them. I can go into the white community. I can go into any community and say, here's a school that you should attend. And so you have to let people know that you're there. Because often, as you know, young people only know about what they know, or anybody only knows what they know. And so where their friends going, and so if everybody's going, and I won't mention the other names of schools because I don't want to promote them, but if all they've heard about is a certain school, they don't even know that you're on the radar. So you have to be there. So I show up at the soccer games, I show up at the basketball matches, you show up at the football. I was just at a little soccer game earlier today where you promote and offer an opportunity to say, hey, have you thought about this institution to go to school? So that's part of how we do it.
Yeah, that's great. That sounds like a lot, but when you know what you're doing, it's not.
Well, Mo, you also have to understand what your job is. And so, my job, whether I was dean or whether I was president or anything that I do, or even right now, if I'm allowed to say this, is running for city council. The job is you have to represent the city. You have to represent the institution. You have to represent the school, which means you should understand the institution and you should be able to articulate what it's about to people who you engage with. And if you're just doing it, and this is something that I hope people understand, that you don't just want to do things just for the money. You want to do things because you believe in them. I believed in Shenandoah University. I believed in Linfield University. I believed when I went to Nigeria with Wigway University. I believe in running for city council. It's easy for me to articulate that, but also I'm very much aware of what I don't know. And so you have to be willing to listen
Yeah.
to what people are saying and respond truthfully and honestly. And what I found out, particularly about the younger generation, they love authenticity.
Yes, yes, that's one thing I noticed
Yeah,
myself.
and an authentic answer to some question is, I don't know the answer to that question. I'll tell you what I think, but I don't necessarily know the answer to the question. Let me find out about it. So I don't, as we used to say in my generation, you guys will probably say, I don't fake the funk.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still say that anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't fake the funk. It's like, hey, and that's a good question. Let me look into it. Let me find out about it.
Okay.
And I'm going to be honest with you, but that's the beginning of a relationship. And hopefully that's what I've been able to build during my life. And what you talk about my time at Shenandoah or my time at any place, or even my time in Winchester, or quite frankly, Mo, my time with you, because you didn't have to invite to talk to me, but I knew you, I interacted with you and see you around.
Yeah.
So you build that relationship, and I'm not doing that a transaction because I want anything from you.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because you're a human being.
Yeah.
And you're in that, yes, I ultimately believe that we're all connected as human beings.
Yeah.
And that's may sound radical in a world now where people are dividing themselves into, all sorts of things. I believe in the human family.
Yeah.
And then let us be supportive of one another.
Yep. What was the most intriguing thing? I'm Nigerian myself.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
What part of Nigeria is your family?
Yoruba.
Yeah, Yoruba. So,
Yeah.
so they did my DNA. I have a lot of Igbo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, but go ahead, keep on going.
No, that was what I was going to ask you. What was the most intriguing thing when you spent the time you spent in Nigeria?
God. I just finished writing about this in a book that will be coming out soon, and being in Nigeria, man. First of all, it's nothing like what people think it is.
Yeah.
When I first went over there, people were asking me about safaris, and
Yeah.
and I'm laughing because I'm living in this high-rise building with a swimming pool, club beside me. It's like ain't no lions in my backyard, dude. I got a security guard outside my building.
Yeah.
I got a gate and stuff, but it ain't no safari going on here. But on a personal level. And I'll say this in all transparency, and hopefully it comes out right.
Yes.
I reconnected with my most authentic self. And let me explain that to you. So first of all, Nigerians, oh my gosh. Nigerians are like proud, straightforward. They're about the strength.
Yeah.
And so, just in case you didn't know, or the people who are watching this don't know, I've been black all my life. I'm a black American.
Yeah.
And we engage in something in the academic circles that's called code switching. Is that we behave one way around our friends and people who we know or people who look like us, and then we get into situations with majority white people and we behave differently. We've been taught that it's a survival instinct because often being too outspoken, laughing too loud, you get, or having real emotions, you're seen as aggressive or emotional or something else. I didn't have to worry about that in Nigeria. And so again, taking pride in who I am, not knocking down anybody, but being pride in who I am, being comfortable with who I am, and then realizing that I wasn't spending time or energy having to switch between how I was. So I remember doing my first interview, my first TV interview in Nigeria. And what struck me as an American and as a black American, and I also talk about the difference in that, was that the camera crewman looked like me, the person who was interviewing me looked like me, the producer of the show looked like me, the people, and so it was a different experience when you're constantly referred to as being a minority, to find yourself in a situation where you're majority. But I need to say this also, because people don't understand this whole construct around so-called race, you'll hear me use this term, is more about ethnic identity, which is what you just said. You're Yoruba, and I'm Igbo, whether you're Hausa, whether you're Fulani, whether you come from the Delta region. These are different identities because when I was in Nigeria, it wasn't about me being black.
Yeah.
It was about, okay, And quite frankly, the biggest thing they had was that I was an American, and they can tell as soon as I open my mouth, no matter how I dress. But even my features look a certain way, and so people will know by your last name, you know, or how you look. They can identify your features. Like, you know, we even in this country, just to make sure that people get this point, we talk about Asians, but there's a big difference between Koreans, Chinese, Japanese, Filipinos, Hawaii Pacific, and we all call them Asian. But people from those countries can tell the difference of the ethnic groups. And so the same thing in Nigeria, they can tell the difference. So they didn't say, oh, you're black, you know, whatever. You know, you look like somebody else. And of course, once I opened up my mouth, it was like, hey, you're an American. So that had a different meaning altogether. And so again, coming out of Nigeria, it was learning to be comfortable, that I did not have to code switch, that there was a sense of pride in who I was. Also seeing that there was a greater history than just talking about the experience within the U.S. Because even though the country had not been a country that long, because it was ruled by the British, so it became a free independent country in 1960, and there are problems and struggles there, but to see what was going on there and to see the people who were willing to do what it takes to survive, that made me feel good. And I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we willing to put in to help us, ourselves, our families, our communities, our country move forward?
That's great. That's great, Dr. Davis.
No, my pleasure.
You love the kayaking metaphor. When was the last time in your career that you felt like you fell, like you were down and you had to pick yourself back up?
No, that's an interesting question, because anybody who knows me knows that my typical response when they ask me how I am is, my response is, I'm too blessed to be stressed. Unfortunately, my most recent down incident was the death of my daughter 2 months ago. You know, it's hard to lose a child. And then it's even harder to lose your firstborn child. But even that, I turned around in my head, because she had pancreatic cancer. Her name was Naila, and I'll say her name so she continues to live on. She had pancreatic cancer that spread to the nodules in her liver very quickly. And I was sad at her loss, but I took joy in the lack of suffering, because she only had to deal with it for a month. Pancreatic cancer is a horrible disease. And so there was less than a month between her diagnosis and her passing. And so that was a sad time for me to adjust to that reality. It's just unnatural for a parent to outlive their child. And it was my firstborn, you know, so dealing with that. So, and so picking up, but faith keeps you going. The reality is you don't know why. And my expression, Mo, is that life is for the living. And so somebody has passed, you can't crawl up in the grave with them and die yourself. And the best tribute that you can give to someone who passed, someone that you loved, someone that you cared about, is to lead a life that's worthy of them being proud and saying, that's my father, that's my son, that's my cousin, that's my relative, that's my spouse. It's like, I'm living my life so that they can continue to see that and live on.
I understand every bit of it. That was a tough one. It just made me relive my own times too, losing my mom. So
it's hard.
It's hard.
Even as a son losing a parent, and you know, because it's one aspect of it, losing your child. That's one thing. And as you touched upon, Mo, the aspect of losing your parent, because it puts you in a different position. Because, you know, and I feel this too, because I lost my father. I still, you know, thank God I still have my mother with us at 88 years old. I hope she's not mad that I called out her age. But I still have her. But when they pass, and you ascend, and that's the word I'm going to use as a cultural reference, ascend into the role of an elder, then that comes with responsibility and weight. And how do you pay tribute to your ancestors? So you talk about being from Nigeria and being from Yoruba. So coming out of African and West African culture in particular, there's a lot of respect given to the ancestors.
Yeah.
And so then there's a lot of respect given to the elders. And so we have to make ourselves worthy of those titles and roles that we find ourselves in because of passing or death or things that happen in our family.
Yeah. You're writing a book. It's called The Rise and Fall of Universities. Tell me about that book.
So actually, the book that I'm writing right now is actually defining your possible living a fearless life.
That's the one that's coming out.
That's the one that's coming out. Yeah, matter of fact, the publisher's there. We just finished the last chapter about three weeks ago.
Okay.
But the book, The Rise and Fall of University, our time together is that the world is shifting. We have to be able to look at the shifts in the world and respond to students within the context of that.
Yeah.
And so I put that on hold because for some people that's very controversial to some because some people will take that as a direct challenge to how they're doing things.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say from my perspective of being a dean, from being a university president, from being a launching a university in another country and what our hopes and dreams are, I have a perspective and I own my perspective. I don't pretend that somebody gave me tablets from on high and I'm speaking the truth, but I am telling a truth because I can watch who education is serving, who is not serving, and quite frankly, Moan, if I can say this, and I never mean to offend anybody, we're losing men in higher education.
Yeah.
And we have to ask ourselves why we're losing men in higher education. And particularly we're losing black and brown men in higher education, but men overall. And then why is that? And so part of it is how it's changed. And so without going into too much detail about that, the book that I'm writing is called Define Your Possible, Leading a Fearless Life. And it's a memoir that recounts my life and the lessons I've learned. I want to be clear. I don't say that my life or my path is the path that anyone should take. My life is my life. So behind us is a map. I don't know whether people can see it on the camera. Behind us is a map. And so when I moved from McMinnville, Oregon, which is on the extreme west coast coming to Winchester, there's a road I took, and I came through Idaho, and I came through. Drove across country 4 days.
Wow.
Drove across country. My wife and I, we drove across country. Now, here's the thing. There are multiple ways to get from point A to point B. I took one way. So what I offer in the book is a route that was taken, but the reality of it is you have to know that you are going from west to east.
Yeah.
You can't go from west to north. You can't go from west to south.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you can take a bunch of detours and do that, but if you're trying to get from McMinnville, Oregon to Winchester, Virginia, you have to travel east. And so what I offer to people is that if you're going to create something in your life, you have to define what's possible for you. So even you doing this, you have said, okay, I want to record and keep record of these things. That's a possibility. There are people every day who overlook possibility because they're afraid or lack information. That's why the second part of the book is called Define Your Possible, Leading a Fearless Life. And so leading a fearless life isn't about not being afraid. It's about conquering your fear and going out there and doing that. So every time you go out there to play basketball, every time you go out there to get in the pool, every time you cross the street, there's an opportunity that something not right is going to happen. But if you're paralyzed by fear, you never create possibilities for yourself. You never know what happens if I play the game. It never happens if I get in the water. It never happens when I cross the street. And so that's what the book is about. And so, and if anybody's really interested in that, please find me on social media, hit me up, and we can talk about the pre-sale, because that's going to start, they're going to start marketing the book and doing the publisher has a date of June to start marketing, it'll be out. And I'm going to be holding special events where I talk more about this.
About it, okay.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be keeping up with you so I can get all the information, because
Yeah,
I'll definitely plan on buying a book and being at the event.
Well, thank you.
So you started into fitness. When did you start it, and what was going on with you when you decided to go that route?
So I want to get to a point where you're going to laugh at this, but maybe, but I'm going to tell you. So actually, my real fitness journey started with enrolling in the military. And so I enrolled in the military, and I was going to Naval Air Crewman School. In order to be put in an airplane, you have to, as I always joke, you have to be able to swim like a fish, run like a deer, and do all these things. I mean, I had to swim a mile in a flight suit. You know, you got to be able to run 4 miles on the beach in full flight gear. You have to do all these physical things, and so I had to start getting ready for those things. Which, by the way, again, this is about that whole possible, because I joined the Navy not knowing how to properly swim.
Yeah.
So I was on swim hole for 6 weeks, where all I did was swim 8 hours a day to learn how to swim and survive in the water. But then I got into it, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the way my body felt. I enjoyed the way I looked at everything else. And here's where the part I think that you laugh at, Mo, is I actually got into competitive bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Because it was like, okay, I can do this, but I want to look good too in my flight suit. So I started lifting some weights and started doing some things, and my body responded well to it.
Yeah.
And again, if you're leading a certain type of life, you have to have the stamina and the brain power. Because people don't realize, people think about exercise as just about the muscles that they see, but exercising leads to better blood flow in all parts of your body. And I'm not going to talk too much about some parts of your body, but it leads to better blood flow to your brain.
Yeah.
So I was going through time zones. I had 16-hour reconnaissance missions. You had to be able to endure that. You can't do that if you're not healthy.
Yeah.
So then coming out of the military, it became easy to not be in shape. You know, I didn't have somebody preparing my food. I didn't have access to a gym 24/7. You start gaining weight, you start doing all those other things. And then I started getting the symptoms of what happens when you don't take care of yourself. I started getting sleep apnea. You know, my joints started hurting. You know, I got shortness of breath. You know, and so all those things that began to impact me, I said, I got to be in the best shape. And let me be clear, there are things that I've done that I can't do anything about. You know, if you fly in the military aircraft, they're not the most comfortable places, so I have compression in my L4 and L5 in my spine. I got issues that are going on. But I did learn that if I can build the muscles and tissues around that, I can help offset some of the pain. And so now I've become a lifelong fitness junkie. You know, so like even before I saw you today, you know, people see, they might be watching the video and see I'm in athletic gear. You know, I went over to the gym. I'm not going to plug them because they're not paying me for a commercial endorsement. But I went over and I worked out. I like to move my body. I'm a big martial arts fan too, so I like doing martial arts moves. I love to swim and keeping my abilities. I like to move because I see what happens when you don't move.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't move, you don't move. It stops you from having the ability to get up. And I see so many people, particularly when they retire, when they get my age, they stop moving, and then they can't move. And I can tell you stories, Mo, which I'm sure you've seen because you're in the fitness, with people who are unable to get up off of the couch, or get in and out of a car. And again, I'm not being rude for people listening to this, but I will tell you this: there's nothing worse than being stuck on the toilet. And you don't think about that, because you have to have the quadriceps to be able to stand up. Which is why you see people, you go into some seniors' houses, they got rails to help you stand up. But you know what? If you exercise and did some air squats, you don't have to, you're not trying to be a bodybuilder anymore. You're not trying to, do leg presses or squats or anything else. But you can still do an air squat and keep the muscles toned so that you can get in and out of the car. So all those types of things. So I'm a big enthusiast for it. And just like a car, and I know the guys listening to this, I'm not being sexist, but I just know a lot of guys are into cars and stuff and everything else.
Yeah, that's true.
You,
That's
you,
fact.
you can't drive a high performance car putting in low performance fuel.
Yeah,
So it's not just the exercise. You got to change the way you eat.
yeah,
You have to give your body the proper fuel to mend itself and to help itself recover and to do things. So you need to eat more fruits and vegetables.
yeah.
You need to have protein. And it's interesting because as you get older, I found this out, as you get older, you need more protein because you're not producing it as much. So you need more protein in your system to keep muscle tone. You know, and look, I'm not the one that's going to tell you not to eat bread or carbohydrates because the carbohydrates are necessary.
Yeah.
But what you do need to do is to pull out of those refined sugar because those refined sugars feed into inflammation and help lead to cancer. And again, I'm not trying to sound like one of those people who are telling you you can't do this, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because look, my favorite food is ice cream.
Yeah.
So I'm there. I love it. But what I'm saying is that you have to realize that you're trying to stay in shape.
Yeah.
And like right now, I have a nine-month-old granddaughter, and and I'll be 67 this year, and I want to be able to be, so I'll be 85 when she'll be 18.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to walk down the aisle when she graduates from high school.
Yeah. That's what we exercise.
That's what we exercise for. I want to be able to see her and pick her up. And I see a lot of my contemporaries who can't do that. I had a simple goal in life motto. People used to laugh at me when I said, I want to forever see and touch my toes.
Yeah.
And men, they carry their fat around their midsection.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that leads to heart disease. And of course, those are signs of things. And so you can't even walk a distance without being shortness of breath. You can't do the basic things that you want to do to enjoy life. You can't travel. You can't spend time with your kids the way you want to.
Yeah.
It's so all of those things are in my mind, Mo, and I think that fitness, is so important. I'm glad that Winchester, again, I'm not going to name this facility, but there's a gym in Winchester where I know a lot of seniors go, and God bless them. Because they're going there, and they can be with their peers, and they don't have to feel intimidated by people throwing the weights around and stuff.
Yeah.
Or to get with someone like you who can show them proper techniques about how, not to hurt themselves. Because I see a lot of young guys on the other extreme who are just trying to throw weights around. I'm like, dude, you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah,
You're going to hurt yourself. I see them bench pressing and arching their back, and it's like, no. Form is more important than the weight.
Yeah, that's the most important.
The most important thing, if all you can do is 45 pounds properly, that's better than doing 200 pounds and you got, you're hurting yourself, compressing yourself. It's no, dude.
Yeah.
Do it right. So my fitness journey has been ongoing and finding things that I need to do, because like a lot of people my age, I have arthritis. And so I use the bands for my shoulders to strengthen my shoulders. Shoulders are small muscles. You don't need a lot of weight.
Yeah.
I'm not out there, trying to do overhead lifts, but you do a band and then rotate it to have mobility and stuff.
Yeah.
So all those things help. And so yes, it's an important fitness journey for us to be on. And anybody who's watching, and like I said, I know some of you were surprised when I told you how old I am. I know I look good for my age. But
you look great, man. You look great.
But it's doable. It's you want to look good and feel good, and it impacts your mental state and how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
The more you don't move, the easier it is not to move. And I want to be clear to people. I don't jump out of bed in the morning. It's like, oh yeah, let's go get them at the gym. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, my body hurts. I don't want to go. But I know that at the end of the day, that if I've done something, even if it's just walked, if I've done something, I'm better off than if I didn't do anything one day. Something's better than nothing.
Yep.
Absolutely, man.
I did right now, like I told you earlier, I work overnight. And prior to when I started May in 2024. The day I was gonna start, the day before I quit drinking. Never touched any more drink, don't smoke. So now when I'm at work, I see other guys, they're drinking Red Bull all night, they drink. So I'm like, before I was drinking Celsius.
Yeah.
And even I read about it, it's kind of healthier than others, but I still don't like putting anything like that in my body. So to like piggyback off of what you said, me working out, staying hydrated, my
Yep.
muscles are
Yep.
intact, so I'm able to stay up all night. I don't want to, I don't like to, but I've done what I had to do. Like when I wake up and I get to work at 11, I could focus from 11 till 7. Once I'm out of there, I can go back, rest, drink my water, stretch, and just the little things people forget, such as, like you said, stretching, go for a walk. If walk becomes too easy for you, go walk up a hill, walk down the hill, walk up steps. Something is better than nothing.
Well, you mentioned something that people overlook, and that's drinking water. And let me be clear, I'm the person that hated drinking water. And often I would drink water with chemicals. And so I won't mention any brands of anything, but there's a lot of things that people say, oh, this is for hydration, but you look, and it has like 72 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
You know, and people, so I need to let people know, and you need to check me on this, Mo, but 4 grams of sugar is equal to a tablespoon or something like that. So if 4 goes into 72, you're putting, oh my God, you're putting almost 20 tablespoons of sugar
in your body.
drink. And again, of refined processed sugar, it's not good for you.
At all, because
It's not good for you.
People think it's good because I call it temporary high. It's because when you do that, your energy goes from here all the way here.
It's fine.
But what people forget is in like 20 or 30 minutes, that energy is going to drop down so hard, and you're going to feel like, what am I doing? Because now you're completely out of that sugar.
And our bodies, we forget, our bodies are 70% water. And so if your joints are aching, it may be because your system is pulling water out of your joints. You're dehydrated. You know, and I tell people this is a simple thing. And again, I never mean to in any way be rude, but I'm going to speak the truth.
Yeah.
Is that if you go to pee and it's yellow, you're dehydrated.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to tell. You know, look and see what the color of your urine is in the water.
Yep.
And quite frankly, you should be going to urinate within 20 minutes after drinking some water because your body's flushing through. Your body needs that to flush itself through the system. You know, I went and got a thing because I was, because I'm also environmentally conscious too. So I didn't want to be buying the bottled waters and everything. Quite frankly, I invite people to look at the labels on some of those bottled waters, and it says it comes from a municipal water source, which is the same source that comes into your kitchen.
Yeah.
But I went and got one of the things that's a filtering machine, and so I pour my water into the filtering machine, and I drink, and I'm making sure I'm drinking at least 64 ounces of water a day to flush my system through. It's no fun because, look, the more you drink, the more you take in, the more you got to let out. I get that. But it's good for your system because your system is flushing itself. It keeps your skin fresh. It keeps, stops you from drying out. Particularly, you mentioned not drinking. Most people don't realize that alcohol dries you out. Alcohol dries you out. Smoking dries you out.
Yeah.
And so if you're drinking and smoking, you need to drink even more water to keep your skin elastic. And then I'm not even going to talk about being in the sun.
Yeah.
So if you're out in the sun, I always wear a hat and I always have my glasses tint up because of impatient eyes. So I'm saying that there are things, depends upon how you view your life, because as I told you, Mo, I treat everybody like an adult. Your decisions are your decisions.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to do for me.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to put a hat on. I'm going to put glasses on. I'm going to put some sunscreen on. And look, I enjoy the outdoors, but I'm going to make sure that I'm reasonably covered because I don't want my skin to look like parchment when I get older. And also I'm trying to avoid skin cancer and some other things that, things. So it's taking care of yourself. And I'm glad that you're doing this and talking with people. It's so important because so many of us pass or become ill as a result of lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
There's some things you can't control.
Yes.
But it's lifestyle issues. And if all you're eating is food that is greasy, non-nutritious,
Late
overly
at night.
processed,
Yeah.
and everything, and because you just want something to snack. Again, I'm not, standing on some pulpit or something lecturing at people. I have to consciously make decisions.
Yeah.
I have to consciously make decisions other than my love of ice cream, but I can't have it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've taken to making smoothies.
Uh-huh.
So I'll get a banana, or this morning what I had before coming to see you, I get a banana, put some mangoes, put some oat milk, and put a bit of whey protein in there. Because you need fiber in your system. And so these things are just being aware. You need to find out. And for the people who are watching this, and again, I talk to guys a lot, and
Yeah.
because I understand male physiology, I'm not going to pretend to mansplain women's physiology, but you need to understand as much about how your body works as you can tell me about how a car works,
Yeah.
or how much you can tell me about a sports team or a particular athlete's stats. You need to be able to tell me about your stat. What's your blood pressure, bro?
Yeah.
What's your cholesterol level, bro?
Yeah, that's true.
What's your oxygen processing, bro?
Yeah, you got to
you,
do all that.
you can tell me somebody's batting average. You can tell me what their free throw percentage is,
Yeah.
but you can't tell me what your blood pressure is. Come on, Mo. You know real.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
That's
like,
very true, man.
It's like, okay, how you gonna adjust that?
Yeah, that's a simple way to think of it, really. You know all those facts, those numbers about pro teams, NFL teams, what's the numbers about your body and everything. So yeah, I really appreciate you. Thanks a lot.